today about refining your machine. Isaac Rogers, Charleston, South Carolina. So what we're going to talk about today, just some of the background of myself, engagement in your machine, assess, address, and refine your machine once you know what it is, and just a bit of our training. Cool quote that I like, which is probably the main staple of this presentation, is that quote on the bottom by Peter Drucker. Efficiency is doing things right. Effectiveness is doing the right things. So I'm trying to combine the two and make it work. So Porter Gaud Strength and Conditioning is at Porter Gaud School, which is a 1st through 12th grade institution. I deal mostly with varsity athletics, but I insert myself in all aspects of the school. I want to create the relationships, but do just to be seen. Our athletic department's SSC motto, and something I liked when I was in the hiring process, is they want a motto of varsity lifts, right? So everybody has the opportunity, everybody needs to be exposed to it, whether they're playing athletics at the next level or not. And just, if you're ever in Charleston on vacation, come hit me up, or if you're there for business, come hit me up. We've got great lunch, we've got coffee all day. Love to talk shop, or you can just come around. We've got a cool little spot. I'd like to give a good thank you to my family, girlfriend, who's also a strength coach. She's been with me the entire time. My mentors, the numerous mentors that I had throughout my strength coaching career. Porter Gaud School for employing me, and then our SCNHSSCA leadership team putting this all together and getting us here today. So my purpose today is to explain how I engage with our student athletes. And what I will say is, before I get too deep, my little disclaimer is that these strategies and tactics that I'm talking about works well for me, but I'm not necessarily saying they're going to work well for you. With this presentation, I want it to be thought-provoking for you guys to just look at how I'm thinking and looking at these issues that can arise or instances that can arise and make adjustments to refine your machine. I think everybody here wants to grow their programs, including myself all the time, and I hope this helps you out over the long time. So athlete engagement. Athlete engagement involves focus, investment, and commitment to the team and sport. Without any of those, you're really not going to have that much leverage when it comes to coaching the athletes. We're going to have to impact the athlete on numerous levels, not just physically. I think with strength coaching, we are very bent on, or what's ingrained in us is that we are trying to maximize them physically. But I think that we can peak on that by heading on the cognitive, emotional, and behavioral levels. And there's many, many benefits to great athlete engagement combined with great training. Like maximizing performance, development, well-being on and off the field. This is a fun picture. This is like mid-lift. We have a great time in our lifts, and he's been wearing sunglasses. His name's Hartley. We've got some weird names at Porter Gaud. He's been wearing sunglasses in lifts for the past 2 months. He doesn't have a concussion. He's having a great time. And then, a big group of our female athletes, I try to get everybody in, equal opportunity. Everybody's got an opportunity to lift when it comes to Porter Gaud strength and conditioning. So athlete engagement as it pertains to motivation and performance. With motivation in your athlete engagement, it instills a better sense of purpose, a better sense of passion, a clear understanding of the goals. Quick story. So the other day I'm an advisor now, and so I had parent-teacher conference, and I was just going, no script. I was just going to dive in. The day before, we had a football lift right after school. Our football lifts have to be done right on time, just so we're hitting practice and getting out and getting people out and off campus at the right times. So our principal walks in, and I literally just sent the guys off for a quick jog, and she's like, hey, can I talk to you in your office? And I was like, oh boy, what'd I do? What'd I say? So she's like, you're not in trouble. I was like, perfect. So I sit down in my office, and she's going through just like a weird family dynamic that I had to be sort of prepared for the parent-teacher conferences. And the guys run back in, they're like breathing heavy, looking around, and I'm just talking to our principal, trying to speed it up as quick as I can to be as respectful as I can, and I see that it's going nowhere. And I look at the guys and I go, I don't know. I have my guys so into the into the system, into my machine of how I have them work. They started the warm up. They got through the warm up. I'm looking outside on the little side eye right here. They're doing camel cats. They're doing dead bugs. They know what we need to do and how we need to do it. And then, shoot, I got the guys coming over and in briefing the lifts, tier by tier. And when I walk out of the meeting with my principal, I was like, any questions? They're like, no, we're good, coach. Let's hit it. And I was like, sweet, break. And we just started up right there. So with motivation, they understand that sense of purpose and understanding the goals of what we're trying to do when it comes to training, which I just thought was really cool. And that happened like 2 days ago. With performance, if you're more engaged, you're getting more out of what you're putting in. So we're improving skills, our focus is there, and we are increasing the commitment to what is put in front of us. Whose responsibility is this? And it's really an easy answer. I'm not going to be long-winded right here. It's all about really a support system that you guys can create at your school, in your institution, and within your community. And that's really what it is. So I'm trying to impact and engage with really athletes, coaches, the community, family, friends, if they're out and about, seeing them at games saying, hey, Johnny's doing a great job. Make sure, I just wanted you guys let you guys know that he's doing a great job. All parties can improve the engagement and help the success be achieved on and off the field. How do I start the engagement process? So I constantly work to communicate what I'm wanting from the athletes, whether it's in a coaching standpoint or just an accountability standpoint. And I instill that, and I hope that instills more purpose to what's put in front of them. And then I also involve the community, and I think that's super important at the high school level. All right, quick graphic, crazy graphic. All right. What makes up winning programs? I look at these factors all the time, and it's blown up. It's posted like 3 or 4 times in and around my weight room, whether it's at the front door on our cork board, on my whiteboard in the office. But I think that this graphic's just really sick, and it can help you with your engagement. So shout out Ross Garner. He did this in one of his staff development talks when he was like in Florida. Now he is in Texas. I don't know exactly where he's at. But I think all winning programs, have a high level of accountability where they're accountable of their actions, they're accountable of their environment and their expectations. They've got systems set up to help everybody involved, all parties involved, succeed. They work on developing coaches, players, the mindsets and relationships within the community. They've got the right people, right families, right coaches, and right players. They're consistent along all lines. They've got a great support system, but I think the one that hits me the hardest is everybody there loves self-improvement, loves competition, they love to work, and they love each other. So it's a community that gels in the weight room, on the field, outside within the school, and whatnot. So on to it, the machine. It's not too complex. It's your room, it's your program, it's your system. It's how you go about coaching and developing these athletes on all the levels that we're trying to develop them on. Your machine's got essential components. We've got the parts, the PG athletes, Porter-Gaud athletes, and Porter-Gaud community. The resources is a second. That's the hardware. So that's the racks, that's the equipment, that's the things that are always really going to be there. You might not have all your resources, but you've got some resources, and that's what you use to train your athletes. And the last thing is just the product, which if we're training everything correctly, the product is reducing the risk of injury, athletic success, confidence, and knowledge. At Porter Gowder, I'm blessed to have a full room. It's a very awkward pizza slice. Up top left, I've got 8 racks, and 3 are only bench racks. All right. Around COVID, I didn't have a say in designing this, but it is pretty sweet. We have a outdoor training center, the Rinkin Outdoor Training Center, the ROTC, as we call it. So it's got 25 yards of turf, 6 racks, and pretty much a full weight room inside a Connex box, and they sort of just pieced that together. So that was just thrown in my lap right as I walked in the door. I started my first day, and they literally went and put the shovel in the ground. But that is what I'm working with as far as weight room. So before you start expanding upon your machine, you first must have to assess the machine. Winning things are critical of their strengths and weaknesses. I think we all know what we're really good at. I think we all know what we're really bad at. But I think great programs take what they're good at and run with it and turn their weaknesses into strengths. And I think that's, crucial in taking your programs from where it is right now to the next level, is maximizing on what you guys could improve on. I'm not saying what you're bad at, what you guys can improve on. So continuing on with assessing your machines, it starts with the parts. There's 2 types of parts in my head and the way I think. There's the internal parts of the machine and the external parts of the machine. All the pieces must fit together. I went crazy with all these, like off of a machine and the mechanical aspect of this subject or whatever. So our external parts is where I work to target the community. So I do that through our Instagram. I'm pretty active on 422 posts, probably like 425 right now, which is pretty crazy. I'm on it. But I think kids love having an Instagram and being highlighted in their ways of like their strength or like athlete of the week or stuff like that. But people that appreciate it more are the parents. All right. Yeah, I have it for the kids, but I am there to honestly educate and show off to the parents that our program is running stuff the right way. Our program is fun. Our program is safe and effective. And if you want to get one started, I work off of a 5-day, 5-option posting calendar where it goes Motivation Monday, Technique Tuesday, either Women Wednesday, or Wellness Wednesday, or Warm-Up Wednesday, Throwback Thursday or Training Thursday, and then Foodie Friday. So I sort of cover the entire spectrum of performance and lifestyle. And I can just pick and choose when. I was telling Dr. Scruggs before this that I honestly take pictures or videos all the time, and I don't immediately just go straight to post. I'll just keep it, create a bank of it, to where if I want to come back and create a post, generate a little hype about something or somebody or something, I can post it later on. And it's, it doesn't really tax me out. So rarely, if it's just me and it's a really heavy lift or a big lift, something that I've got to be coaching in, I'm not really having a camera out. I'd rather spot and make sure that the room looks good. I'm never going to take away from the coaching aspect of things and the safety, but I do try to get it enough content to where I'm highlighting the players and athletes as well as informing the parents of what we're doing. In that same vein, my first year when we opened up the ROTC, some moms caught me at a game and they were like, "Coach, you should have a mom workout or a parent workout." And I was like, "Nah, y'all just want a free personal trainer." And I was very much like just pushing it away, dodging. "Hey, great to see you." But then I thought about it and I was like, wait a minute, I can use this to my advantage. I agreed. I was like, all right, sweet, let's do it. So I got with our communication team. We put it out to all of our parents that I was going to host it. And I had like 25 to 40 parents every Thursday of April 2 years ago come in to get a free workout outside in the sun. I was blasting 90s R&B, not the too raunchy one, R&B and rap, a little bit of Beastie Boys. We were having a blast. We were pushing sleds. But that opportunity allowed me to then also educate and extend what I'm doing to them. So we would start with a warm-up, and I would talk it through and explain why, and how, and why we're doing stuff. But also, somebody would say, hey, I had my hip replaced. And so I'd be like, sweet, if that comes up or if somebody's injured in a lift, this is how I'm making an adjustment. In the long run, what I wanted to stick with them wasn't, the environment and the soreness or whatever they came for. I wanted them to know that Coach Rogers has it tuned tight. He's doing it right. And if I have that trust, I'm getting that ride. They're waking their kids up and they're driving them to school. So the way Porter-Gaud is set up, it's not zoned. It's a private school. You do have to pay to go there. And so we have a pretty large spread of footprint of where kids drive from coming in. And if I can have, if you're a junior and down and don't drive, and I have your parents' trust, and they're the one driving you to school to the workout, I'm already winning that battle. And then if the kid has a great time, it's positively reinforced, and it keeps going. So targeting the rides. And then internally, engaging the student athletes and, sometimes more of the internal community and inner workings of the school. And that plays into like my cues, my coaching, how I present exercises, how I divide up the room, plays into how I work with the internal parts. But all in all the pieces must fit together. Continuing on with assessing your machine and working to assess and address. So when I first got to Porter-Gaud, we started working out, and I'd say, let's do a 5x5. And that instantly told them that we were finding a 5-rep max in the first set and a half. And so we were really bad at warming up. We were really bad at grouping up with kids that were going to challenge us because we were there with our buddies, and we didn't really know how to load the bar that well. Not everybody was working out when I got to Porter-Gaud. A lot of it is due to just the size of SCISA and how successful we already were, and the mindset, if it isn't broke, don't try to fix it. But I don't think that the kids knew how beneficial weightlifting is until they actually tried it, and how much that would take their game and their lifestyle and their time after sports until they experienced it and got the result that they would want. So a couple things that I put inside of my weight room to help out the athletes is this 10-8-5 warm-up sheet to teach us how to warm up, and it works off of your first set. So if they get their sheet and it says, I'm starting at 225, you just find 225 on the left. It tells you the first warm-up set, second warm-up set, third warm-up set, so that we are smartly and safely working up to the right intensity. And the second thing I put on the back, I double printed, is our loading reference. So that helps everybody. It's not just really football, it helps everybody. If I have the cross country team in to the sailing team in, which I have, football team, we've got equestrian, almost call them horseback, but not. This next slide, I'm going to highlight more of these youth development benchmarks of how I internally assess the engagement and just the overall training of our athletes. Oh, I forgot a main thing. Maximizing AI, athlete intelligence, still on the technological undertone of my presentation. AI is just a term which is like training age, but it just fit. So athlete intelligence. Athlete intelligence makes your jobs easier. Your kids know you want opposite arm and opposite leg on a single leg RDL, that frees up 30, 40 seconds. Or if they know how to do a hinge, if they know what a chest supported row is, or what kind of squat or variation of squat I'm wanting them to do if it's a split type lift, that makes your job a little bit easier. And it allows us, like what happened the other day, to just be self-sufficient and efficient. So yeah, I'm always trying to maximize AI, and that, makes your machine more efficient. So these youth development benchmarks, I've picked this up from somebody, and I did not design this as is. But I thought of it as a great tool that I use to assess, like I said, internally, what I'm doing to impact the athlete, strength and conditioning wise, AT wise, so injury prevention wise, and then nutritionally. And it works in stages: stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. I make sure to look at and assess all the teams that I work with and just sort of see where I'm at, and that's where I'm making adjustments of how I'm presenting things and what they need to be exposed to. And so, strength and conditioning, for instance, laying our foundation in stage 1, fundamentals. I want lifts to be perceived as fun, and then we can ramp it up and get harder. All right, and then we are moving up a little bit, learn to train. Now we're trained to train, and then we're trained to compete. And that just plays into how you're presenting them the work. The athletic therapy or AT, the injury prevention stuff, I think is awesome. If kids know how to and can spot when they need to go to this athletic trainer, or when they need to do a little bit more injury prevention work, that's beneficial and that's going to pay off. When that's worked into their everyday habits as they go from stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, where they understand when and how to perform injury prevention strategies, that's going to pay off. It's going to pay off when they compete. It's going to pay off when they start to get old and their knees start to creak. It's going to help them out longer than you're going to be their coach. And step 1, which I think every coach has with every athlete, is understanding the difference between hurt and hurting. And I think that pops up a lot off the rip when it comes to working out for the first time. When I got to Porter-Gaud, I was working with some team, who knows. We had a workout on Monday, we had a workout on Tuesday, it was the summertime. Kid came to me the next day and he goes, "Coach, bro, touch my legs. I think I pulled this. I think I pulled my bicep." And I was like, "Oh, whoa, bag it up. We're in the wrong area." I mean, we did do split squats yesterday. I think you're just sore. Let me introduce you to this roller. You know what I mean? And so, I took that as a teachable moment, learning moment, and taught him the difference between hurt and hurting. He's not hurt. Please don't text your mother that I pulled your biceps. And maybe we had a little anatomy lesson too. But yeah, this is a big piece. I think nutrition is a gigantic piece. I think that we all run into roadblocks with all of our athletes. It's super, super tough. Like I honestly can't build and make plates for all the athletes that I work with. But I can try to lead them to water, and hopefully they drink. So step 1, educating athletes on the nutritional requirements of our macronutrients and how their importance and what their importance are to athletic development. Moving it up until they can work to create a nutrition plan based off of what they want and their goals. I'll be honest, this is probably the hardest one for me. Because everybody's different. And how I make a big impact right here is either the Foodie Friday post that I put out on social media, and then I am a multi-tool within the school, and I'll do lunch duty every single day. So I'm at lunch, I'm like, "Hey man, I don't think 3 croissants is going to be great. We got a basketball game this afternoon, and he's like, "Go get on the hot bar. We got all this food." I'll be honest, Porter-Gaud should be some machines because we have great resources, and I'm very blessed to live there or to work there. And these kids just don't get it. But I can just work and push to make sure that they are getting the information and knowledge to where if they use it, it will be to their benefit. But I'm always trying to refine how I'm putting nutritional information up and in front of these kids to hope that it sticks. All right, going into our resources. The big question right here with your resources as far as the machine, your machine, is are you maximizing your room? I mean, I walked in, I wasn't in here 30 seconds. Coach goes, man, this room is wild. This room is insane. It's a weird shape. I mean, same. That's what it looks like. That's what ours looks like right here. There's a couple more pieces wrapped around. We've got a cable crossover and some cardio equipment on this downside wall. But it's, it's in the shape of a very strange piece of pizza with 3 benches and then 5 platformed racks against the wall on the left. We all know what's great about our room, though. I mean, shoot, I've got all this equipment, and I can do anything. It just comes into the time and maybe some other limitations. And where does it fall short? I mean, I've got 36 guys on a football team that will train out of season 4 days a week in the morning for an hour, and then in season we're training 3 times a week in the afternoons, right before practice, right after school, for 30 to 35 minutes. And there's a lot of moving parts right there. So we fall short in a couple ways, but I don't use that as a limiter to what I try to do with my athletes when it comes to that.
My name is Nick Cornell. I'm at Campo Verde High School, and I'm the Physical Education Department Chair and Strength and Conditioning Coach. I'd been searching for years. I had looked at other organizations and just never found what I wanted. Never found the support, the collegiality. I just never found what I was looking for at the high school level. So summer of 2018, Brad St. Louis, another strength coach in our area, had mentioned the NHS SCA and that NatCon was coming up, and recommended that I go with him. So I went down with him to Indianapolis and was completely blown away by the support, by how many great high school strength coaches there were that were passionate, that were humble, that didn't have egos. It was about helping kids at that level that I'm at. Working with 14-year-old kids that can't lift up a bar, and having the higher level kids too. So I went back to campus after that summer, and I was just completely fueled. I had a different perspective. I drew strength from everyone I met. I met great friends. I keep in touch with so many people across the country in the organization that I just at any time can reach out to, ask questions, learn. It's just been phenomenal for me. It's strengthened my career. I've gotten a lot better at what I do. I'm more patient with kids. I understand all the difficulties that I face, everyone else faces, and we work through them together. So it's been a game changer for me, and I truly thankful to the organization, all the members, and have grown so much through this organization. Yeah, the biggest thing is I feel like the NHS SCA, number one, they're genuine. Really, the ego part is gone. That was one thing that I felt like with a lot of other organizations. When I went to other conferences, it was about prestige. It was about positions. It was about state champions. It was about all these other things that didn't apply to me. Very overly sciencey and really, just really hitting on things that weren't helping me where I was at. And I think the main thing is the support that I've gotten through our organization, through the NHS SCA. It's been just amazing, because at any time I can reach out, and I have the ability at any time to get numerous people's opinions and feedback on any question I have, ranging from speed agility training to testing to programming to anything. So it's enabled me, number one, to have a lot of good friends. My friendships have grown, but it's also enabled me to, again, take comfort in knowing I'm not alone, that my struggles are a lot of people's struggles, and I'm blown away by the humility that some of these truly amazing, top-notch coaches throughout the country that they want to help. They're here to help. They're here to, whether you're a young guy and I was a guy at that point, year 25, and those guys reached down and helped me out a ton on things that I was struggling with. And so it's just been phenomenal. And 29 years of doing this, I just wish I had this organization earlier in my career. And I try to tell everyone I can, you're sorely mistaken if you don't join it. If you're a high school strength coach, you have to be a part of this organization. It's just a game changer in so many different areas, from networking to friendships to support to strength when you need it, when you're having a bad day. It's just been truly amazing.
And then lastly, the products. If your machine's parts and resources are running properly, like I said earlier, training's desired adaptations will be the product. Don't overthink. If you guys are trying to be powerful and jump higher, your numbers should correlate to the type of training of what you're trying to put in front of them. You guys should be training power and being explosive with maximal intent to get that, to elicit that adaptation. If you want to have fun, you got to have fun. This is a wild picture. It looks like a highlighter. And then we're getting to some cooler stuff. Our training and how I make it work. You know, on our machine, I hit the reset button twice a year. There's a method to my madness. I use my room to my advantage, and I'll go through a couple things of how I go about maximizing my room and my space. I emphasize training smart in season and out of season. Training's got a little bit of flow, and I'm flexible. I pride myself on thinking quickly on my feet and being incredibly adaptable when curveballs are thrown at me. I mean, I think a lot of us have cell phones and they get a little slower, so sometimes you got to hit the reset button. And what the reset button is for us, Porter-Gaud Strength and Conditioning, is we reset twice a year. And all it is a regression back to the basics. I do that after the fall season. I do that after the spring season. I use the reset button as, and I don't really refer to it as the reset button all the time. I use the reset button as an onboarding to new coming athletes, also to fix bad habits that we had created over the season. A lot of it is a little bit of block zero, but I progress it pretty quick just to make sure that our technique is locked in and we look great. And I also use a lot of EDT, so escalating density training on a clock, 2 or 3 exercises back and forth for a set period of time to keep people in the same spot. But also I know I only have 2 specific things or 3 specific things to coach at a time in cluster sets to control the flow of the room. I mean, guys will come in and I'll say, hey, we're doing 5 sets of 5+5 clusters of push-ups at 3 seconds down. I mean, that's 50 push-ups at 3 seconds down with a little break in between each one. I mean, they might giggle at it at first, but you know, you get to about 24, and those big boys, even some of our more athletic guys, are shaking like leaves. And then there's the method to my madness. So this is how I go about progressing, introducing intensity to kids. So phase 1, I wish I had like a laser. A lot of my athletes are really on phase 1 to phase 3.5. I've got a couple kids in the percentage base, but not all the kids in percentage base. And the reason that is just because my inconsistencies as far as training. So in SCISA, and I don't know if it is with public schools, coaches can't require kids to be there. So that's why I make such a big push to impress parents, to impress admin, to impress the kids themselves with having a great time, so that I can get some continuity with my training and push them along. Because we're not going to come in, hit a 1 to 5 rep max in anything, and then that's their numbers, that's set. All right, I'll just say, hey, we're going to do 3 sets of 8 to 10, working on some volume. I need it to look like this, and if it looks great, we probably progress the movement, and then we're going on. Trying to expose them to that stuff. And then I'm teaching them as we get more complex, and then we learn to strain a little bit, build, and distinguish. And with that, I do have a good bit of teams using RIR and then RPE, so rate of perceived exertion, which they get. I mean, I'm blessed to have some nerds that go to Porter-Gaud, but I can't depend on that. I don't bank on that. I still have to explain it. I can tell them, for me, if I'm collecting data, I can say, hey, we're working up to a heavy set of 4 with a 2 RIR, and that should be an 85%. And that can give me a ballpark range of how strong that athlete is at that time. Same with RPE. I can say, I need us to work to 7, or I need this set of 5 to be an 8.5. And I can get some good response or a good effort with that. And then once we get to percentage-based loading, I'll design sheets that have everybody's numbers personalized on there. So our training and how I use the room to my advantage. So like I said, I've got this weird pizza-shaped trapezoid of a room. It used to be a breezeway. So all they did is put a wall on the right side, a wall on the left side, and just put racks in it. It used to be grass. And that's what I work with. So with bigger teams, I split it into 4 different sections. And then within those sections, we're doing a set number of exercises, and we rotate, and then we make it work. To make sure that we all stay on the same clock or the same set, I'm using a clock, just like that one, the Rogue one, so that people know where we are within the workout and when to rotate, but I'm also facilitating the movement of my ant farm. On that same note, with the clock, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to go into some in-season training and how I look with our in-season. We train 3 days a week in season, and it's got to be 30 to 35 minutes just for how it's, like I said, how it's set up and how we're set up. And so the clock is super important. This is how I do my in-season breakdown as far as variation, intensity, intent for the week. This is really just the skeleton of it. I keep the same template for the days or for the accessory work, but I just really put the intensity. So light, we're doing speed work. Mediums is usually an ISO, and then heavies either partial range of motion, full range of motion, and I just cycle through it. So it undulates, and I'd say what variation, but this is just a me thing. So I just keep it with me, and then I can write it up however I need to write it up. But we train full body every single day. Instead of printing out all 36 athletes' personalized sheets, I create speed limits. So I take my weakest kid, my strongest kid, and that's what I base my numbers off of. Our kids are growing every single day and every single week. They're getting bigger. Shoot. Just training, whether it's 40 to 50 to 60%, and growing at the same time, they're probably going to get stronger throughout the season. So I just give them a little bit of variability as far as where they can go. Making sure that if a guy's beat up and they come in and they're not feeling like hitting 225 as their 40%, 45%, they can go down a little bit and it's fine as long as it's hit with the intent that I'm asking for. And if, say, a smaller kid was on JV last year as a bubble kid as far as floating back and forth, if he's getting stronger and he doesn't want to stay at 125 or 90 pounds for our upper body for that first week, he has the freedom to move up a little bit as long as it's hit. As long as it's hit correctly. So on our speed days, I use cluster sets just to accumulate quality reps with the correct amount of sets. So I ran into a speed bump earlier in my time at Porter-Gaud. I was running it all split in 4 different sections with, say, 2 exercises in each section, and I wanted to do a speed week. So I did 6 sets of 3. This is in season 2. So I did 6 sets of 3 bench, speed bench, and that was fine. But in one other section, I was doing single leg RDLs, which was also like 3 sets of 5 or 3 sets of 6. Come to find out, I fried everybody's hamstrings because that made them do 6 sets of 5 single leg RDLs. And I had to really crank my mind around how to fix this to where we're still getting some unilateral hamstring activation while also still working to maintain our explosiveness over time. So I I implemented cluster sets to where I consolidated the larger set number into smaller sets. And it still works within the time. So we can get, like, say week 4, we're doing 2 + 2 + 2, and I tell them that the plus sign is 15 to 20 seconds. Still fits within the 145 to 2 minutes each set. And if I'm doing single leg RDLs or anything else that's strainful or stressful that could light them up, it works everywhere else within the room. This is an out of season lift. I know it's a little far away. It's all right. But this is what a personalized sheet would look like once we get into a percentage-based training cycle. So, I mean, their name would be up top. It drops in all their maxes. It tells them what weight they need to be working at. And we train upper, lower, upper, lower. A cool one about this one is I have a like football specific, more like strongman styled lift on Wednesday where I take them outside, where we're doing jammer progressions, we're doing sled pushes and drags, we're throwing med balls, we're doing big jumps, we're having a good time, just to mix it up, but also to expose them a little bit to the weather, and the guys love it. But it's got 4 different tiers. All right, this is where it gets crazier. Our prep sets. So like I said early on in the presentation, we're really bad at warm-ups. Another thing that we were bad at is our exposure to plyos, and how I harp on our injury prevention work is rehab and prehab exercises. So I added in those sets and those exercises sprinkled in throughout the entire lift. We've got 4 stations with 36 guys. I divide them up all by 4 by skill and ability or position group like I have it displayed right here. And we all start on that same station, on their station. So I've got, like it says right here, the DBs starting at the top of the sheet with our plyo prep and triple extension warm-up sets. Our running backs starting with our squat warm-ups, which we're not good at, but they have the sheets that tell them how to do it. Our bigs starting at a rehab prehab section, and then our QB kicker starting at a rehab prehab section. This evenly spreads our footprint to where everybody's got more work. I mean, everybody's got space to do their work, and we're not all trying to hammer on the 3 benches or 36 guys on 5 squat racks all at once. It's spaced out in complexity as far as how I need to coach, to where if we have a heavy squat day, I'm not having heavy incline bench or anything else complex happening on the right side. And these warm-up sets run on that clock for 1:15 to 1:30, which gets them warmed up pretty well. Once we hit those warm-up sets, no matter where you're starting at, what position group, you just move straight down, right into the work. The equipment that I've used, so like the band TKEs and the 2 dumbbell calf raises, goes right into the band rows and step-ups down low. So like you're already there and set up and ready to move. And the kids know, they've been exposed to all these exercises. They know how I want them. I in-brief the lift before we start. And they know my expectations, to where it's a smooth transition, to where it's like, all right, 3, 2, 1, ready, and like we're into the running of it, right? So I can run them at 1:15, warm-up set 1, warm-up set 2, warm-up set 3, and I got guys already putting their work weight on as far as it is for squats in this scenario right here. I then run these sets on 1.5 to 2 minutes, just depending on the intensity that I want, and we go through the 3 or 4 sets, depending on whatever it is. And from there, we just read it as written and shift how we need to shift. So that bottom group goes all the way up to the top of the sheet, and they just look at their sheet. They're like, all right, I'm going up to the top. And they start their plyo prep and triple extension warm up. And that next group, station 1, is now at station 2. And it moves in a clock-like manner. This flow is pretty wild. If you were just to walk into my weight room with any large group, it's literally like an ant farm because there's just kids everywhere. And it's pretty badass to take a step back, trust the kids in knowing that they're doing it, knowing what they're doing, and you can see 4 separate sections all working right and how they need to work, which makes me feel good that I'm telling them to do, that they're doing what I want. And that also allows me and frees me up to then go forth and coach and not just worry about the logistics of running this crazy room. It helps me with the flow. All right, and then right there. And then that's how it works, moving down into it. That's really our room and how we're working. In season, we do still do 4 stations. It's really just 2 exercises. It's pretty quick. Our first day we're hitting squats. Second day I'm targeting upper body, so bench, and our third day is an incline and maybe split squat day, just depending on where it is. But it does have that same flow as far as what the days look like. And with that, I'd like to, thank everybody for taking time to listen to me ramble. Thanks, Coach Cole. Thanks, Chapin, for hosting. And thank you guys for coming out. Does anybody have any quick questions? I don't know how much time we've got. Say less. I feel like if I'm impacting them to the degree that I want, the behavioral things should fall in naturally. And I feel like with behavioral, I think what we're trying to instill in these kids are grit, accountability, leadership. And I want that to be an organic thing. I went to the Citadel where, leadership shoved down our throat. And I think some of it to an extent works, but if you can create, a mindset within a student athlete and you can see it blossom, whether it's on the field or in the weight room, I think that is great and a testament to how you're impacting and engaging with them. Does that answer that? Am I all right? Sweet. So, yeah, I train most of the teams, all the teams, before and after school. My class structure, for what it is, I have a fitness and wellness class that would go on 4 days a week, 1 block day, and then 3 rotating days. Our school's strange in that we've got a hybrid block and 15-minute class structure that's like an A week and a B week, and they also switch within the weeks too, so it's pretty gnarly. When I got there, I would not say that it's like a top-down. I had to go advocate for myself to coaches to stress the importance because it's, when I showed up, we had the number 4 recruit in the nation in volleyball doing her thing, keeping the team afloat and pushing that into a state championship. And it's hard to get a team that's already that good for what they already do to push and get better. So a little adversity helps in that selling point, but it is very much like our AD hired me to be just solely a strength coach. I can't coach a team because I don't want to create any biases with that. But I do have to go meet one-on-one, talk with the coaches, and even advocate for my class. So I'm working on refining how the class is being ran, and I do have full reign with that, but it is tough for me to get students to come take my class because they need 2 PE credits if they play a sport, and that's the only thing. If they play a sport, they get that second PE credit. So I think it just needs to be tightened a little bit to maybe. Yeah, my classes are Gen Pop.
As where educate them. Do you have any other strategies that you have to?
I mean, we have, and I think it's just, we're blessed to be in the position to where we can incentivize things. I don't say that we incentivize everything. So I do believe that it is a top-down, trickle-down method as far as the coach needs to be behind you. So like last week, we had basketball tryouts, and we had a parents meeting, a coaches meeting, and then we had like a coaches meeting right after it, like in the same night. I was there till like 9 p.m. And I talked to the coaches and the athletes and the students, and then I talked to just the coaches at the end. And I have these times set up for them for a reason. And what I asked them is, I know that you all played basketball in college and or have ties and understand the importance. I think you all understand what it takes. I don't think they understand what it takes. To where what I've done too is I've taken like data as far as like strength and metrics and verts for basketball specifically and been like, hey, this is like the median vert and it's like 28. You jump a 22. Like, yeah, you might be a 3-star athlete, but again, they're going to look at this and that's going to hurt you in the long run when it comes to. And they're going to also talk to me, like especially if kids want to play at the next level, and at a higher level, they talk to every piece within the athletic and academic environment for them in the high school level. But so what I told the coaches in that meeting was, I need you guys just to hold them accountable. I didn't say punish them. Hold them accountable. And highly stress and the benefits of being together and growing as a team mentally and physically and, like I said, organically developing that grit and cohesiveness through just working and struggling together. So I always try to, understand my clientele, whether it's coaches, parents, or athletes, and then best pinpoint how to approach that talk. One thing that I do, coach, when it comes to different spread groups is I combine them into larger groups. Like we have a country club lift, which is golf, tennis, sailing, horseback riding, and shotgunning. But, it opens up. One, I'm not going to stretch myself for a team of 4 kids, respectfully. And everybody at our school knows everybody because we only have like 400 kids in the upper school. And I'll even run across kids that don't even play a sport, and they've got buddies on this team. I'm like, hey, if you want to come work out with your friend, let's do it. Let's rock. And I'm honest, and I tell them, I was like, hey, I'm still going to want this. But I make them, I combine the groups into buckets to where it's not stretching me. They're working and training at the same level, so it's not a detriment or a loss to them. And I can get it, like I said, I can get it done more efficiently. And they're just around their friends and more people and not just, man, I don't like him. All right, word, you don't got to work out with him. You can go over there. And I can go work out with the Salem team. So I just try to be, like I had a bounce lift, which was interesting. I had boys and girls basketball and volleyball all in the same room. And all I did is just split them up into different sections. And then they ran the same lift and I could just watch it rotate. And I just coached from the middle out. And the goal was easy. We're just trying to get our verticals up in the off season. But, that's 3 hours I combined into one or whatever, 45-minute chunk.
Add to what you just said too. So you talk about the accountability part. Ultimately, it comes down to motivating these kids. I'm motivated by money. I'm motivated by clout, social media.
We talk
Some
about
are
this.
just motivated by just having recognition right there. We also talk about the accountability part, and we're trying to teach our kids in their careers setting standards, having structure. They may not know they're motivated by that, but they are. Once they see that, oh, I've got a routine, this is the standards, I got to wear this color shirt, I got to set this up before we do that. Then when they kind of take a step back and see all the other guys or girls on their team all working towards the same goal, achieving the same thing, it carries over to the career. It's a motivation they don't know that they're getting motivated by, but benefiting them and translating over to the part of the life.
Yeah, and I think coaches that have a great grasp and build within their program and have, continuity from year to year to year and class to class to class have an easier job of instilling those standards and holding their athletes accountable. So one stat I didn't share was in those football lifts, right? I know I kept saying like 36 guys. We average 95%, and that's not a required lift, and we don't negatively punish them at all, right? Our guys have grown because we had a new coach a year before I got in, and he's a visionary as far as like he thinks big, and we map stuff out and we scale it and we think and it's strategic of how we put stuff in front of them. And he does a really great job of growing and building a program from the top down, from varsity to whatever B team. And And so with that, it's not like I just had the numbers. I don't plan for an entire roster to show up. I really don't. I don't even really set up because I've had summer lifts, whether it's my female off-season lifts or even a basketball lift, where 3 kids show up and I'm expecting 25, and I'm not going to lay out, 6 groups of 4 setups when I'm only going to have 4. Me teaching them how to work out and set up, goes longer than that. So I can say, hey, we're going to use the green bands for band rows. Just make sure we're setting it down low. We're going to stand up, back it up, shoulders back, row it. But I think, like I said, if your program is solid as far as its infrastructure, mission, and vision, and you can then pour that into your athletes to where they understand it, I think they can get that we need to do this to get to that because this is how we're supposed to do it. Yeah. I mean, if you guys want any of those graphics or any of those sheets, I have them, and I can send them to you if you'd like. But again, thank you guys for your time. Ready for Dr. Scruggs.